Hello everybody, welcome to Tiger Tales, a place where you'll find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Today, we dive back into the Tiger Tales Marvel and DC fanfiction universe, or the TMDFU for short. A universe which is a collide of Marvel and DC into an ongoing and overgrowing collection of stories. You can find every story in continuity order in the playlist labelled TMDFU. There you'll find all the stories in the order they're meant to happen. Today we're journeying back to The Extraordinary Spider-Man. Now, the last time we left Spider-Man, or shall we say Logan, he had to face two new villains. A new version of Captain Cold and Venom has returned. And then also he got the aid of the new Vixen. So let's dive in with the new Extraordinary Spider-Man, Chapter 3, Teamwork. Logan walked into the office and sat down on one of the brown leather chairs and waited for 15 minutes before Mr. Pocket walked in. "Hello, my boy. My apologies. I was setting the mutants of High on a new mission," Mr. Pocket told him. "You called me, remember? What's this about, Pocket? Come on, I'm kind of busy here," Logan snapped back. "Ah, yes. Venom and Captain Cold," Mr. Pocket sighed. "Wait, you know about that?" Logan asked. "Yes, I do. For a boy whose mother's on the news, you surely ask dumb questions about big news," Mr. Pocket said sarcastically. "Alright, I get it," Logan huffed. "They are a part of why I called you, though," Mr. Pocket said. "Okay, so what's going on?" Logan asked, confused. "I'm here to help. With one thing, you do need backup, obviously," Mr. Pocket told him. Yes, please. Okay, what you got for me?" Logan said. "Well, you actually met her already, I think," Mr. Pocket said, then turned around and opened the door and gestured someone to come in. He held the door open and Amara walked in. "Amara? What are you doing here?" Logan asked.
"Wait, Logan? Now I'm confused,"
Amara said, looking at Mr. Pocket. "Amara, you know Logan, I see," Mr. Pocket said to her as he closed the door. Then he walked across the other side of the room and poured himself a scotch.
"Yeah, we met the other day,"
Amara replied. "What are you doing, Pocket?" Logan snapped. "Well, let me introduce you to your alter egos. Spider-Man meet Vixen, Vixen meets Spider-Man," Mr. Pocket grinned. "Wait, you're Vixen?" Logan barked.
"Excuse me, web swinger. You can't judge me right now,"
Amara barked back. "Easy now, you two, easy," Mr. Pocket snapped. "I have never thought you would be Vixen. Like, damn, nice acting, by the way," Logan commented.
"Not too bad yourself,"
Amara grinned. "I helped Amara here find the talisman she wears. It's linked to her mother's tribe. She's an ancestor of the original Vixen, who's a part of the Justice League of America," he told Logan. "And Logan here was the only person who managed to survive the spider bite. From the spider, Peter Parker, aka the original Spider-Man, made himself," he explained to Amara. "Okay, so now what happens?" Logan asked awkwardly.
"Well, I vowed to protect the innocent. Venom and Captain Cold are tough foes. I wouldn't mind a team-up,"
Amara said with a smile. Logan took a deep breath. "Okay, yeah, sure, let's do it," he said. "Right, now that you two know each other, get out, have a meeting," Mr. Pocket barked. Then the two teens looked at each other, nodded, and both of them fled Mr. Pocket's office. A few hours went by. Day turned to night, and Spider-Man swung through the city, swinging over the nightlife of the city, and then he spotted Vixen stood there on a skyscraper ledge. He shot a web up and pulled himself high into the sky and landed next to her. "Gonna be weird calling you Vixen sometimes," Spider-Man commented as he landed.
"It's definitely strange,"
Vixen replied. "What are you doing up here anyway?" Spider-Man asked.
"I like being up here. It's peaceful,"
Vixen told him. Spider-Man shrugged, and then suddenly his head started ringing. "Something's happening," Spider-Man muttered.
"How do you know that?"
Vixen asked, confused. "Spider sense," Spider-Man muttered. Then all of a sudden, a police car came flying down the street below as it was chasing two cars. Both had armed thugs leaning out the windows, shooting at the police car chasing them. Its sirens filled the air. "I've got to go help," Spider-Man told Vixen.
"You and I, we're a team now, remember?" Vixen
said. Then she placed her two fingers on her amulet, and the spirit of the cheetah appeared. Then the energy of the spirit wrapped around Vixen. "Yeah, alright, let's go," Spider-Man chuckled. He jumped off the ledge and shot a web and swung after the police chase. Vixen then ran down the building using her enhanced speed. Then as she landed on the street, she ran after the police chase. Spider-Man and Vixen caught up rather quickly. Then Spider-Man shot a web at the first car and pulled himself down as he landed on the ongoing vehicle. He flipped onto the windscreen and punched it several times before the glass shattered underneath his brute strength. He then shot a web at the passenger, sticking him to the chair. He then leaned into the car and grabbed the driver. He pulled him out of the car and threw him away, shooting a web to catch the thug. He then backflipped off the car, landing on the road. He grabbed the car and lifted it up in the air with all his strength, the four wheels now spinning out of control, but they suddenly stopped. Spider-Man then placed the car back on the ground. He bent over to catch his breath. The second car halted and the two thugs climbed out. Vixen sped past them, stopped and spun on her heel, now facing the two thugs. She touched her talisman and the spirit of the Rhino formed around Vixen. She charged at one of the thugs. He aimed his shotgun and pulled the trigger, but Vixen dodged the attack. As she ran, then she rammed into the shooter, knocking him flying back and crashing to the police car. Then Vixen turned around to see the other thug. She touched her amulet one more time and the spirit of the monkey appeared around Vixen. She flipped a few times before cartwheeling towards the thug, swinging her feet at him, kicking him as she landed. Then she jumped up and landed on the shoulders of the thug and punched him in the face twice before the thug was rendered unconscious and dropping to the floor. Vixen backflipped and landed on the ground. The spirit of the monkey disappeared. Spider-Man walked over to Vixen and he shot a web at both thugs, sticking them to the ground. Nicely done. Spider-Man grinned under his mask.
Thanks, right back at you.
Vixen smiled back. We better get out of here, Spider-Man said quickly. Then he jumped up and shot a web, pulling himself higher into the air. Vixen touched her amulet and summoned the spirit of the falcon and took flight. Spider-Man swung through the city and Vixen followed beside him. We make a pretty good team, Amara, Spider-Man said. But before Vixen could reply, a big black hulking figure came swinging across and smashing into Spider-Man, crashing him into a window of a skyscraper, both of them rolling into an empty office. Seriously, dude, this has gotta stop. This is twice now, Spider-Man yelled as he climbed to his feet.
We want revenge, Spider-Man.
Venom snarled as he climbed to his feet as well. Vixen flew in and landed.
Spidey, are you okay?
Vixen asked. Stand back, Vixen. This is my fight, Spider-Man told her. She stood straight and watched. She did not argue, but kept herself on light toes, ready to jump in if Spider-Man needed her to. What's going on, Venom? Why'd you want this revenge? You know I ain't Peter Parker, Spider-Man asked the symbiote monster.
You still wear this logo?
Venom replied. I'll stop you if I have to, Venom, Spider-Man called out, pointing at him. Suddenly, sirens filled the air, and the flashing lights could be seen from where they were stood. I have to go help, Spider-Man said.
I will end you, Spider-Man.
Venom growled. Venom lunged at Spider-Man. He jumped up and flipped over Venom as he crashed into the wall. Spider-Man then shot two webs that latched onto Venom's back. He pulled Venom towards him and then back-flipped on the spot, double kicking Venom in the chin. Venom landed but quickly jumped to his feet. He swung his two massive symbiote tendrils, ripping from his wrists, swinging the tendrils at Spider-Man, wrecking the office around them. Spider-Man jumped up, and one tendril flew under him. As he landed, the second one swung and hit him in the chest, knocking Spider-Man off his feet. But Spider-Man jumped up and shot a web at Venom's face. Venom growled as he pulled the web off his eyes. Spider-Man then ran up to Venom, sliding between his knees. He then stood up quickly, now behind Venom. He then shot webs at Venom's heels and pulled Venom, who flew forward, smashing his face on the floor. Spider-Man jumped over Venom, shooting multiple webs in rapid succession, encasing Venom in a web, sticking him to the floor completely. And stay down, Spider-Man said. He then flicked his wrist and both web shooters ejected the empty web cartridges. He then pulled out new ones from his belt and landed next to Vixen as he loaded them into his web shooters.
Okay, I will admit it. That was impressive,
Vixen said. Thanks. Now let's go, Spider-Man replied. Then he ran and jumped out of the window, shooting a web as he fell, shifting his fall into a gentle swing. Vixen then jumped out of the window, calling upon the spirit of the Falcon once more, and took flight, flying after Spider-Man. Spider-Man and Vixen headed towards the source of the sirens. They found a big burning building. Spider-Man landed on one of the fire engines and leaned himself towards the captain. What's happening here? Spider-Man asked the captain. Oh, hey, Spidey, glad you're here. Seems like some dickheads are making petrol bombs, and one went off. They were in the basement. We got most of them in the ambulance, and most of the civilians here that live here are out. But we're having trouble searching the top of the building, and fighting the fire at the same time. We got most of them, like I said, but it's the top floor, the captain told him. Spider-Man glazed over to the burning building and took a deep breath. We got this. You just handle the fire, Spider-Man told the captain. What do you mean by we? Captain asked.
He means me.
Vixen called out as she landed on the floor next to the captain. It's an honour to have you both on board here, Captain told them. Spider-Man jumped up and used his web to pull himself higher up, then shot 2 webs and used them to slingshot himself into the top floor of the burning building. Vixen touched her amulet and the spirit of the monkey formed around her, and she started scaling up the building in quick succession. She could feel the heat on her hands and feet. She slipped into the window that Spider-Man just broke and found him searching around for people. Yo! Hello! Anyone here? Spider-Man called out, coughing slightly.
Hold on, I have an idea.
Vixen told him. She then covered her mouth from the black fumes and touched her amulet. The spirit of the owl appeared, and suddenly Vixen could hear all the minor sounds coming from the building. Help us! Please! A young, soft voice called out.
Down the hall there are children trapped.
Vixen told him. Spider-Man nodded, and both of them bolted out of the apartment, dodging the flames as they did. They kept a light footing as the wooden floor was burning red. Vixen stopped suddenly by one of the doors.
It's this one.
Vixen called out. Spider-Man shot his web and pulled the door off its hinges with his strength. Then they both jumped into the apartment. The whole place was filled with black smoke. Spider-Man shot webs at the windows, breaking them, allowing some of the smoke to leave through the windows. Vixen barged through the apartment and found a child's bedroom.
Hello? Is anyone in here?
Vixen called out as she ran in. Then she heard some rustling. She summoned the spirit of the gorilla from her amulet and grabbed the bed and flung it across the room, finding 2 young girls laying on the floor.
It's okay, I've got you. You're safe now.
Vixen told them gently. She grabbed one of the girls as Spider-Man bolted into the room and scooped up the second one. They both ran to a window. Spider-Man jumped out, holding the girl tight as he shot a web up to catch them from falling and slowly descended down. As his feet touched the ground, he let go of the web. Vixen touched her amulet and summoned the spirit of the falcon, and the girl in her arms looked up in amazement as she could also see the spirit encasing around them. Vixen hopped out the window and floated down gently, landing safely next to Spider-Man. A hectic woman came running up to them, crying and calling for the 2 young girls. Oh my god, thank you so much, the woman cried out as she wrapped her arms around both her daughters.
It was no trouble at all.
Vixen grinned. Captain walked up to Spider-Man. Thanks, Spider-Man. That was some amazing work there. Now we can focus on stopping this fire, the captain said. No problem, Captain. No problem at all, Spider-Man said, saluting to him. Spider-Man and Vixen walked away from the burning building, catching their breath, pushing past the crowd, when suddenly a police officer walked up to them, with a sad look painted all over his face. Excuse me, Spider-Man, do you have a minute? The officer asked. Spider-Man looked at Vixen, she shrugged at him, and then he walked up to the officer. What can I do for officer? Spider-Man asked. It's my daughter. She got herself in a pickle, and the NYPD won't do anything about it, 'cause she's a mutant, the officer said to him. And why are you bringing this to my attention? Spider-Man asked. 'Cause you help people. You help the little guy, you know? And things have been rough. There was an argument and she stormed out, and we haven't seen her in a good couple of days. She's a good kid. She thinks she's indestructible, you know? The officer explained to them. I'd be happy to help, officer. Do you think you know where she might have gone? Spider-Man asked. Well, that's the thing. Mutants have been going missing and taken to certain factories all around the state. We think this organization might have something to do with it. She had an email telling her there's a party at this location, but we checked and it's an old factory, the officer explained, handing him a piece of paper with the address on it. Thanks, this actually kind of helps. That's actually not far from here. We'll go check it out for you, Spider-Man told him. Thank you so much, the officer cheered, then gave them his address and contact information. Spider-Man and Vixen headed towards the factory, and within the hour they had reached the location and landed on the roof, when suddenly Spider-Man's phone started ringing. He pulled his mask up over his mouth and answered the phone. Hey Mum, what's up? Logan asked.
Logan? Oh my god, why haven't you been in contact? I've been worried sick about you, and you haven't been home. I know you haven't been home because you didn't leave your dirty dishes. Are you okay? What's going on, son?
His mother answered. Sorry, I've been busy, finishing the assessment with Amara and all, Logan lied. Vixen walked across the roof and hung herself over the ledge and peered through one of the windows, where she found 2 boys stood in the hallway. One was completely covered in metal, and the other had red glowing eyes. She then looked over to see a man with a blue winter coat holding a cold gun. Yeah, sorry, I'll call you later. I love you too. Bye, Logan said, then hung up the phone. He pulled his mask back over his face and joined Vixen.
Seems to be Captain Cold and 2 boys. It looks like they're about to fight each other.
Vixen told them. "Let's join in," Spider-Man said. Then he stood up, ran off the building, shot 2 webs, and slingshotted himself into the window, smashing through. Spider-Man landed between Captain Cold and the 2 gentlemen. Spider-Man? God damn it, Captain Cold grunted. "What the hell?" the boy with the red glowing eyes said. Spider-Man looked at Captain Cold, then at the 2 boys stood there, now looking at Spider-Man, a little gobsmacked. "Sorry for dropping in," Spider-Man chuckled. "This story continues in Mutants for Hire, Chapter 4. And there you have it, guys. Chapter 3 of Spider-Man, the new Extraordinary Spider-Man. I just want to thank you all for listening. Now, I do want to say the voice actress for Vixen is actually my stepmother, Naomi Edwards. You can find her on TikTok with all her artworks. Make sure you go check that out. And the voice of Venom is, of course, my dear friend Ethan. So make sure that you check everyone out, and of course subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment down below what you guys think of this story. Whilst we're here, I do need to shout out the Zero to Hero Network, where Zero to Hero is a podcast about Power Rangers, Gundam, hairstyles, alien invasions, and everything between, with the Balkan Sky podcast and Jim and Billy. There are some fantastic dudes, and the podcast is worth the listen, so make sure you go check them out on everywhere that you can listen to podcasts. And in association to Zero to Hero, we have the Three Ranger Bros Studios, which is myself, of course, and then my 2 very good friends. We have Mark the Red Cornish Ranger with his podcast Nursery Comics, which is adapting comic books from Doctor Who, Star Trek and Power Rangers and so much more into audio dramas, and soon he'll even be showing up some of his own original content. Then you have my Parabatai, Cosplay 2637, with Power Ranger Universe 19, which is an ongoing storyline in a universe that he's made with Power Rangers New and Old and Kamen Rider. So make sure you go check that out too. That being said, thank you all for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I shall see you guys next time.